In a low stance defensively, matched up with Mitchell. Fires up a three.
Kelsey Mitchell. Indiana's clash with Connecticut wasn't just another game. It was a moment of truth. In a year full of roadblocks and misfortune, this particular matchup carried a heavier meaning. The Fever were still clinging to the playoff chase, but consecutive losses to Dallas and Washington, teams sitting below them in the standings, had wiped away their cushion. And as the opening half unfolded, the outcome seemed obvious. The story was written. Over. The season felt finished. The offense had collapsed. Connecticut kept stretching the margin higher and higher. The scoreboard delivered a harsh reality check. Indiana looked lifeless. Fans watching at home could feel it. Players on the bench wore it on their faces. Every missed shot, every careless turnover. Even though there were still 9 games remaining after this one, it looked and felt like the season was disappearing right in front of them.
Step back three-pointer, left it short. Mitchell now 0 for 4, run out, Rivers explode! 0 for 4, run out, Rivers explode!
But basketball has a strange way of flipping misery into magic. And on this night, Indiana, and Kelsey Mitchell above all, gave us a rally that will be remembered for years. In a month's time, this stretch might be remembered as the most pivotal half of the Fever's season. For Caitlin Clark, it may also stand out as a symbolic turning point. Before we walk through what unfolded, I need to bring up a legendary clip that sets the perfect stage.
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win.
This legendary Herm Edwards.
The timeless words of Herm Edwards have echoed for decades. You play to win the game. It's blunt, simple, and sharp. No rationalizations, no excuses. Regardless of the scoreboard, the injuries, or how hopeless it looks, you step on the floor to win. You compete. You fight. And the reason this resonates so much is because in this game, Indiana had every excuse in the world to finally quit. Once again, it seemed like someone had a curse pinned on the Fever. Another critical injury, this time, Sophie Cunningham. Midway through the action, she crumpled in visible pain. She stayed down for several moments before trainers helped her off the floor. She couldn't put full pressure on her leg, and her expression said everything. This wasn't a tweak. This was serious. The timing was brutal. Already missing Caitlin Clark. Already missing Sydney Coulson. Already without McDonald. And now Sophie, one of the team's voices of energy and spacing threats, was gone. You could feel the collective frustration. This wasn't bad luck anymore. It was beginning to feel like cruelty. A season where momentum would build for a moment, then get ripped away again. Sophie's family had seen enough. They jumped on social media, hammering the league for poor officiating and failing to protect players.
We got Sophie's sister Lindsay and her mom Paula. At WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game, protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie Cunningham. And Sophie's mother, Paula. Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control.
For a group that had already lost Sydney Coulson, Aari McDonald, and of course Caitlin Clark, this truly looked like the breaking point. Indiana trailed by 21 in what was supposed to be a must-win game against the weakest team in the standings. Nothing clicked. The offense was stagnant. The defense fell apart. And the body language on the bench told the rest of the story. Even watching through a TV screen, you could feel the resignation. Fans and players alike seemed ready to throw in the towel.
One of your starters goes down, one of your leaders goes down. And after that, it did feel like the morale of the team was down for the first half. And they went into halftime being down 20 points. And I was on live, you guys heard it from me, I was like, okay, this game's done. Like, they just can't get out of it. The morale of the team is done. Seeing Sophie go down, like, maybe this team just doesn't have any fight left in them. And I was actually ready to give them a pass as well. I was like, you know what? It's been a hard season. And at some point, you might just have to throw in the towel and be like, you know what? We will get after it next season. It is what it is.
It was as if the season had already been pronounced dead, and everyone had quietly moved into the stage of acceptance. A write-off. 9 games still left, but hope already gone. And then it happened. Indiana suddenly sparked. It didn't begin with anything flashy. It crept in quietly, almost like a flicker in the night. A Kelsey Mitchell free throw, then a smooth floater, then a 3. Almost instantly, the body language shifted. The very shots that clanked in the first half began to drop. At the 5:37 mark, the 21-point hole had shrunk to 14. By the close of the third quarter, the gap was down to 11. For the first time all evening, the arena had life. The energy shifted. You could feel the balance of momentum swinging. Connecticut still led, but Indiana had cracked the door open, and Kelsey Mitchell was preparing to blow it wide. With the season hanging in the balance, Kelsey Mitchell caught absolute fire. At the 8:38 mark, she drilled a 3. On the very next trip, she attacked the rim and sank free throws. Suddenly, Connecticut's once safe lead was vanishing. And then, like a spark spreading, Lexi Hull joined in. Wide open in the corner, she let it go. Splash. After weeks of shooting struggles, she picked the perfect moment to deliver. In an instant, the Fever were alive again.
Essentially, I thought, well, I wasted my day watching this game and going live for it. Then cue the end of the third quarter. The momentum shifted and the Fever started chipping away at this enormous lead that the Connecticut Sun had on them. For the majority of the game, I would say that the lead was around 15, 16 points, and they got it down to 8 points, and Kelsey Mitchell started heating up.
The crowd was deafening. The bench was electric. Every trip mattered. Odyssey Sims transformed into a one-woman wrecking crew, attacking the rim, forcing whistles, and piling up 9 free throws through relentless aggression. Brianna Turner, who had barely touched the rotation lately, checked in and delivered a defensive stand built purely on toughness. She finished a pleasant 10 on the floor, despite not scoring a single bucket. By the final minute of regulation, Kelsey Mitchell had dragged Indiana all the way back. The scoreboard, 84-84, deadlocked. The unthinkable was now real. Overtime. Head coach Stephanie White punched her fist in the air. The Fever bench erupted like the game was already theirs. The miracle rally was complete. And overtime, that belonged entirely to Indiana. 20 seconds in, Mitchell sliced through the defense for a layup. A minute later, she buried a 3. Next trip, another. Back-to-back daggers. Mitchell wasn't just hot, she was volcanic. Connecticut fell apart. The shots they nailed earlier suddenly rattled out. Shoulders tightened. Passes hesitated. Indiana smelled blood.
As a matter of fact, this was the largest comeback in Indiana Fever franchise history. And it was funny because there were so many people cheering in Connecticut for the Indiana Fever when all this was happening. There was actually just so many Fever fans in Connecticut. As a matter of fact, when Marina Mabrey went on the court in the beginning of the game, they booed her. Imagine getting booed in your own arena.
The opponent was the worst team in the league. Yes, it was one Indiana absolutely had to beat. But how they won, that's what made it unforgettable. Pushing through yet another major injury. Digging themselves out of a 21-point pit, doing it with a fan base that traveled and roared louder than Connecticut's own. This wasn't just a win. It was survival. It was belief. It was special. And it was the definition of a gutsy collective effort. Kelsey Mitchell, 38 points, 34 of them in the second half. A performance for the ages. She started with just 4 before halftime, then flipped the entire story on her own. That's the true meaning of refusing to quit. Lexi Hull, 8 points, 7 rebounds, and the clutch threes that snapped her cold streak at the perfect time. She brought every hustle play the team needed. Odyssey Sims, fearless downhill attacks, 9 free throws, and constant pressure. She played like someone who refused to let the year die. Brianna Turner, no flashy box score, but the plus-minus revealed her impact. Plus 10 in a game decided by 6. She anchored the defense when Indiana needed stability most. Aaliyah Boston, 14 points, 13 boards, the anchor inside, the foundation piece this team leans on. This was the sort of victory that hardens a locker room. the kind that can flip the momentum of an entire season. And clearly, it did. Because after the buzzer, the reaction wasn't just in numbers, it was in emotion.